You got a raise this year. Social Security told you so. 2.8%, about $56 a month more in your check. And then Medicare quietly took almost 18 of it back before you even saw it. Nobody sent you a separate letter for that part. Nobody explained the math. You just got less than you expected. And this is the part most people miss, because the raise and the deduction hit at the same time, in the same check. Most people never see the two things separately. They just open their bank statement in January and think, wait, that doesn't look like a 2.8% raise. It doesn't, because it isn't. Not anymore. Let me show you what actually happened. In 2025, the average Social Security retirement check was around $2,015 a month. The 2026 COLA, the cost of living adjustment, added roughly $56. So your new check should be about $2,071. Sounds fine. Sounds fine until Medicare steps in. The standard Medicare Part B premium, the one most retirees pay, went from $185 a month in 2025 to $200 and $290 in 2026. That is a $17.90 increase, almost a 10% jump. So out of your $56 raise, almost $18 is gone before you buy a single grocery. Your real raise, about $38. And if your benefit is lower than average, which for a lot of women it is, the damage is worse. If your check was around $1,500 a month, your COLA raise might have been closer to $42. Medicare still takes the same $17.90. Now you're keeping about $24. That's your entire annual raise, $24 a month. Now here's where this gets really frustrating. The COLA is supposed to protect you from inflation. That's the whole point. But Medicare Part B doesn't care about your COLA. It has its own formula. Your cost of living went up, so Social Security adjusts your benefit to keep up. But Medicare Part B doesn't care about your COLA. It has its own formula, its own cost increases, its own math. And those costs are rising faster, almost 10% this year, while your raise was less than 3%. So think about what's happening. They give you a raise to keep up with inflation, and then a different part of the same government takes back a third of it through a premium increase you didn't choose to cover healthcare costs that are rising faster than everything else. You are funding the gap out of your raise. And I want to be clear. This is not about blaming anyone. This is about understanding the system. Because if you don't understand how these two things interact, you will overestimate your income every single year. And when you're retired, every dollar you miscalculate is a dollar you might spend without having. Here's another thing most people don't realize. If your income is higher, say you have a pension, rental income, IRA withdrawals, you might be paying even more than the standard Part B premium. There's something called IRMA, Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts. It's a surcharge. And in 2026, if your modified adjusted gross income is above $109,000 as an individual, your Part B premium jumps to $284.10 a month. That's an extra $81 on top of the standard rate. So for some people, the COLA didn't just shrink, it disappeared entirely. And they won't know until they look at their January check and wonder where the raise went. And this is the part that concerns me. The COLA is announced in October. Big headlines. Social Security checks going up. People feel good. They plan around it. They might even adjust their budget, expecting a little breathing room. And by January, the math has already been done inside your check. Then, quietly, in November, Medicare announces the new Part B premium. Smaller headlines, less coverage. And by January, the math has already been done inside your check. They gave with one hand and they took with the other. And most people never see it as two separate decisions. They just feel the result, which is less than they expected, and they don't know why. So, what can you actually do about this? A few things. First, look at your actual net Social Security deposit. Not the gross amount, not the number Social Security announced, the number that hits your bank account after Medicare is deducted. That's your real income. Plan from that number. Second, check whether you're paying IRMAA. If your income was above those thresholds 2 years ago, because IRMAA is based on your tax return from 2 years prior, you might be paying significantly more than the standard premium without realizing it. Third, understand that this happens every year. And if your income has dropped since then, maybe you retired, maybe your situation changed, you can appeal. You can file what's called a life-changing event form with Social Security. It's called SSA 44, and it can lower your premium. Third, understand that this happens every year, every single year. The COLA and the Part B premium are set by two different formulas, controlled by two different agencies, and they don't coordinate. They don't try to make sure your raise survives the deduction. That's not how it works. So you need to expect this. Build it into your planning. Assume your net raise will always be smaller than the headline number. And finally, if you're approaching 65 or you're helping a parent navigate this, understand that Medicare Part B is not optional for most people. If you're on Social Security, the premium is automatically deducted from your check. You don't get a choice. You don't get an invoice. It just happens. Your raise was real, which means every year, part of your raise is already spoken for. Before you see it, before you spend it, before you even know. Nobody explained this clearly. And that's the problem. Not that people are making bad decisions, but that they're making decisions based on numbers that don't reflect reality. Your raise was real, but so was the deduction. And the distance between those two things, that's the part nobody talks about. If this helped you understand your check a little better, I'd appreciate it if you shared this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is the kind of thing we talk about here every week. The quiet stuff, the stuff that actually moves your money. I'll see you in the next one.